This is CricketSong with Lunar Wisdom, and today's video is going to be talking about Book of Shadows. It is a remake video of a previous one I did a while ago, and the reason why I'm redoing it is because I have some added information that I'd like to include that I didn't have at the time of the previous video. So even though that video had a lot of views, I am deleting that video and replacing it with this one. Okay. Book of Shadows. There's a couple of questions, well, more than a couple. There's a few questions I want to address in regards to a Book of Shadows. So the first one is, what is a Book of Shadows? So generally, the term Book of Shadows is really a Wiccan term. It's a term to describe a journal which would include a Wiccan's rituals, their notes on the rituals, spells that they've done, the notes on how the spell turned out for them. It might include recipes for tinctures, potions, brews, incense. It could include their dreams. It could be their dream journal. It could just be notes about things that they've discovered for themselves or they've learned. It may be their own personal beliefs or guidelines. It could include everything and anything. It's a journal with everything written in it. Now, that is to say that some Wiccans may separate their dreams from their Book of Shadows. They may also have more of a I don't know, I guess a ritual book, and then have their own feelings about it in a separate book. They may call that their Book of Mirrors or their Book of, I think that's Light. They might separate it in that way. But generally, a Book of Shadows is an all-encompassing journal that all that types of information would be kept in. Now, I view my Book of Shadows as a magical tool. And in being a magical tool, I am sure that I cleanse and consecrate it, and with a blessing that I've written as a magical tool, and it becomes sacred to me, just as all my other magical tools become sacred once I cleanse and consecrate it. That's how I view my Book of Shadows. Now, how is a Book of Shadows differ? How does it differ from, let's say, a grimoire? Now, for some people, it doesn't differ at all. It's just a term that they use. If they're Wiccan, they may call it a Book of Shadows. If they're not Wiccan, they may call that book a grimoire. But for me, usually a grimoire is more of a ritualistic and a recipe book, where the personal, I guess, commentary would not be included in the grimoire. If you look up the word, a witch's grimoire, it generally would be like a textbook. It would have instructions on how to do a ritual, how to create charms, how to create talismans, how to create amulets, how to do certain spells, how to do certain invocations, and how to summon certain spiritual entities. It may have a list of the different spirit entities. Now, this isn't to say that a Book of Shadows does not include all this. Your Book of Shadows could include all this, but the Book of Shadows is more of a journal format, where I find that grimoires don't have the personal journalings of it, and that may have been kept in a personal journal as opposed to the grimoire. But this is just really splitting hairs. The main idea is that the title Book of Shadows came with Wicca. It was introduced with Wicca. Before that, witches just had their grimoires or their spell books, and with the idea of Wicca, or what Gardner's Wicca, when it came, that's when the Book of Shadows term started to be used. Okay, so what should a Book of Shadows be made of? Well, your Book of Shadows can be made of anything. It can be a journal. It can be a lined journal. It can be a journal with blank pages in it. It can be something like you might have seen in Charmed, that kind of Book of Shadows thing. It could be sort of like a photograph journal type or a scrapbook type. Or it could be a binder, which is what mine looks like, and I will show you what mine looks like. So what type of information should be kept in your Book of Shadows? I would suggest your rituals, your spells, your recipes for incense, potions, tinctures, ointments, powders, any sort of outcome of these rituals and spells. If you had a specific intention, how did it go for you? I would include your dreams, any visions, any messages. If you are practicing divination, the actual form of divination and the outcome of how your divination went. Everything and anything that you learned, correspondences, any information that you feel is pertinent to your particular path and brand of Wicca, you should include in your Book of Shadows. Should your Book of Shadows be digital or should it be a physical book? Personally, I feel like that's a personal choice. I do strongly recommend that if your Book of Shadows is purely digital, that you do have a hard copy somewhere in case your hard drive becomes corrupt. Make sure you always have a backup. This is from personal experience. I had a terrible situation happen when our hard drive crashed and got corrupted and I lost some information. If you have it as an online journal for others to read as well, make sure you have a backup of that as well. I've had situations where servers went down and I lost information in that way as well. Should your Book of Shadows be kept secret? I have read in certain books, Wiccan authors say that your Book of Shadows should be kept secret. That is up to you. If you are in a coven and you have a copy of the coven's Book of Shadows, you may have taken an oath, and some of that must be kept secret because of the oath you took when you were initiated into the coven. But if we're talking about a solitary individual and their Book of Shadows, if you feel it's important for your Book of Shadows to be kept secret, then it should be kept secret. But if you have no problem sharing your information with others, then you should follow that as well. Follow your intuition, follow your instinct when it comes to your own personal Book of Shadows. But I would advise that you consider who you share it with before you just leave it out on the coffee table for anybody to come and read it. Now, is your Coven Book of Shadows different from a solitary Book of Shadows? So if you join a coven or a group, you may be required to copy some information from the Coven Book of Shadows and start your own Book of Shadows. I don't know about every coven. I do know that in our particular non-traditional Wiccan coven, that coven members are more than welcome to copy information from the Coven Book of Shadows and include it in their own Book of Shadows. That information is oath-bound and should not be shared with anyone outside of the Book of Shadows, outside of the coven. So they should not share that outside of the coven. I also know that within our coven, making sure that the information is shared, the coven information is shared only with coven members is, like I said, important. So at this point I want to show you my Book of Shadows. So let me move the camera so you can get a better view of what I have included in my own. And this is my Book of Shadows, not the Coven's Book of Shadows. So this is my personal Book of Shadows. It is a 3-ring binder. It's covered with like a pleather type material. I have a pentacle. You can't really see the color, but it's like a brown color. And in each section of my Book of Shadows here, if I show you on this side, I don't know if you can tell, maybe I can show you like this. Yeah, each section has a divider here, and it divides each section of my Book of Shadows into different categories. And I'll show you, okay? So then when you open the Book of Shadows, I just sort of have a title page, and again it's on one of the pages that is sort of larger, so like it's a divider. And the first section has the Wiccan Read, it has the blessings, And it has like general information like the principles of beliefs, my personal tenets. So the beginning book part has, you know, the Wiccan Rite of Chivalry. It has basic information, laws of the craft. That's the type of things that I put in the first section. In the second section, I include rituals that I have done and rituals that I do like on a, you know, monthly or yearly basis. So these are all my rituals. For example, my cleansing and consecration of a dwelling, my solitary ritual that I do every full moon, as opposed to specific rituals like an Imbolc ritual that Phoenix Witchwood did when he dedicated himself. So that's what's included in that section. So this is spells that I've done or I've written, incense recipes, things of that sort, and the actual spell, the incantation and the ingredients in the spells. The next section, I put prayers, blessings, and invocations that I've written in this section, any chants that I've written, any Wiccan prayers or any sort of prayers that I've written. In this section also is pages like this that I've purchased from some online store or shop, which has the different incantations and prayers as well. In the next section is all other information that I feel, things that I've written, things that when I went through how to find your magical name, a lot of my videos will be here, things on magic squares, chakras, sigils, about the blue moon, any information that I've written on my blogs or things that I've written or videos that I've done, the information I've included here as well. It's all research that I've found and I've done myself. I feel that it should be included somewhere. The next section is research that I've done on gods and goddesses, any sort of information that I've gathered. I also again have some pages that I've gotten from an online shop, Moon God, the Horned God, and the Green Man, but information like that I would include in that section. And then this section is my journal. So this is where I record visions, where I record dreams, seances, any channeled messages. I put them here, any visions I get during meditation, I put this in here as well. I include that in here. And also when I read the book The Dark Moon, or the Goddess of the Dark Moon, there was a section of my Dark Moon journey and the answers to the questions. At this present time I'm doing the Goddess Path, and that information I will include, or I'm including in this section as well as I go through that. I will include that in here as well. And then the last section is the natal charts for myself, my husband, and my children. I printed them out from an online place, and I've included that in the back of my Book of Shadows. So that information is what I've included in my Book of Shadows. But again, this doesn't mean that this is the only information you should include. This is the information that I include, which, you know, I find is helpful. I feel like your Book of Shadows should be a culmination of your whole spiritual practice. Since we don't have, you know, one sacred book, this becomes my sacred book. This is my Book of Shadows, my sacred book. So hopefully that answered the questions or covers the information on the Book of Shadows. At this point, I want to talk to you about physically what this Book of Shadows is made of, because I made this Book of Shadows. What I did was I took a 3-ring binder and I covered it with this material, and I put this pentacle underneath the material and hot glued it down. And the reason I want to talk about what this is made of is because I offer, if you like the look of this Book of Shadows, I offer these on my online shop. I offer them in 2 different colors. I offer them in the brown, which I just showed you. This is 2 of the Books of Shadows that I offer at my shop. This is the brown one. It is a 3-ring binder. It is covered with a black material on the inside, and it has a black ribbon to clasp it to shut it. I've included a blessing for you in the front, and it's just, you know, this brown pleather. There's a picture on my website that you might be able to see better. It, like I said, it's a 3-ring binder. It's pretty thick, and the ribbon opens up enough that you could fill it all the way and still have a nice section left over. I also offer a black one like this. This material is a black pleather, but it's a softer material, and it's like a thinner material, so it puckers differently when I did the pentacle. Again, it still has the black ribbon, which you can tie, and again is covered with the black material inside, and that's on both sides. Now please understand that these are handmade. There's a little bit of glue left, so each one is not going to be exactly the same. So each one, you know, may be folded a little differently because I did them myself. Again, you can see the pictures online a little better. That's the black one. This is the brown one. You can see the color difference better here. This is a harder, a thicker material, so when it doesn't pucker as much as this one does because it's a thinner material, so it gives a different look to it. I do offer these on my website. Like I said, I handcrafted each of these. Each of these come with a blessing in the front. So check it out if it's something you're interested in. If not, I totally encourage you to create and craft your own Book of Shadows. It does put more intention into the creation when you do create your own. Oh, see, there's a better color. The light is a little different, the black and the brown. Okay? Hopefully this answered any questions that you may have about Book of Shadows. And if you have your own insight or thoughts as to what you include in your Book of Shadows, please put that in the information section of this video. And as always, I love you.